Hello everyone, welcome back to another Flames War Battle Report. Today's game is Mike as the American Armoured Rifle Company and Dave as the SS Panzergrenadier Company. Today's game is more of a banter battle, so two more of the casual players in my repertoire of the Valley Gaming team, shall we say. So you'll see some strange decisions. Some strange tactics, but I guarantee you it'll probably be entertaining and we'll all be left scratching our heads at the end of it. But always used to love playing the game, really enjoy myself watching them play and how much enjoyment they have. So hopefully I can capture it with this little battle report today. So let's get stuck in to see what lists these guys are taking. So this is Mike's list. Nice to see Armoured Rifle Company again. So pretty much everything's mechanized apart from the anti-tank guns, who are just going to have to slog it around the battlefield if needed. But we've got heavy machine guns making an appearance. Don't see these guys much around. Might be a debut for the Armoured Rifles this game. I think it might be. They've also got their half tracks along as well. We've got Greyhounds as well for the spearhead, a big old unit of priests, an OP, Thunderbolts, and we've got Shermans and Stuarts as well. And we had 2 points left over. He did want to use the Dutch quota card, but unfortunately, because it wasn't a rifle company or a ranger company, couldn't use it. I might be wrong in that case, let me know if I am, but I believe because it's an armoured rifle company, the Dutch card could not be used. But let me know if it can, because he'll be devastated, and we'll learn for next game. Okay, so here is the infantry element as a company. We're doing this kind of breakdown all the time now. So the HQ is 2 SMG teams with a half track, a 50 cal half track, if I remember off the top of my head. We'll come back to that. We also have 2 full platoons. So that is 6 rifle teams, 2 LMGs, a mortar, and 5 bazooka teams in each platoon. So quite meaty. Each platoon has 5 half tracks, 2 of which are 50 cals, and also we've got that twice. These are aggressive infantry, and so are the half tracks, so they'll be hit easier. But their rally is very good, and yes, it is a 50 cal for the HQ team. Still in formation, we have 3 armoured mortars, 3 anti-tank guns, and they are 57mm anti-tank guns, and then we have 4 M1917 heavy machine guns with 2 50 cal half tracks. And I'm going to go out and say it is their debut today. They might have been used for the rifle company, but this is an armoured rifle company, so these are armoured heavy machine guns, so this is a debut for them, so give them a little clap and let's see how well they can do. And again, as I mentioned before, the only things without half tracks are the poor anti-tank guns, so these guys better be beefed up and ready to cut these guns around the battlefield. Okay, and this is all the support. So we have 5 M5 Stuarts, 5 76mm Shermans. We have a Greyhound cavalry group. So that is 1 M8 Greyhound, a MG Jeep, so that's just a 30 cal, and a Jeep with a mortar. We also have a Sherman OP and 6 priests. I've only got 3 here because I originally saw the list and I thought it was just 3. I did not notice this until we deployed, and Mike had his little panic attack as I only put 3 priests down. So we do have the game with 6. So we didn't miss that. That was quite important. And we also have a Thunderbolt flight as well. I only have the 1 plane, so that's why there's 1 there. Bought the old sets. And that is it. So we'll have a look at the command cards. Okay, this is one of the command cards. Actually, it's the only command card for the Americans, and I've seen the thumbnails. It's French Resistance Raid, 2 points. So, as you can see, discard this card after your opponent rolls for reserves. Your opponent must re-roll their reserves rolls. So quite a nifty little card, especially for missions like this. I personally prefer it with delayed reserves, because that really hurts having to wait that long to get your reserves on, only for the French resistance to blow up a bridge and stop them coming in. And that is it for the American force. So let's have a look at the SS. Okay, so this is Dave's list. Dave being a bit busy with his own channel, doing his music stuff. I took the liberty of making a list for him. So if anything goes wrong, list-wise, it is all my fault. Nothing to do with Dave. I made a list around the 9th SS because this is Dave's first time using the SS. I was thinking of using the 17th, but I thought that was a bit harsh for someone's first time using the SS. So 9th is applied to the infantry teams just to make them careful. Thought that would be a good intro. So we have 3 small teams. I wanted to give this a go as a bit more of a spread on the platoons and defensive setting, as this list is designed to defend. They also have Panzerfaust, so can deal with tanks, and have machine gun nests, again for another spread around the battlefield. The SS Panthers are having another shot, as well as the Panzer IVs, and the tanks in this list are designed to be a good amount to go into reserve, if there are any. So we'll have a little breakdown of the list, and we'll have a little exciting new feature on this channel, and the boys already know what it is, and please stay with the list bit and we'll go into so here we have the infantry elements again, so 2 SMG teams for the HQ and 3 5-man platoons, all armed with Panzerfausts. So original full strength would be 7. Cost effective, not sure for the 9th. Obviously if you use this for the 17th, all you need to do is lose 3 teams and you're last standing on a 5. It's just for that spread around the board. That was my thinking in this list. Let me know what you think, if I could do a better list for the SS. I know Tito uses a lot of mechanized SS. I felt the brunt of that plenty of times myself, and it is good, just trying out new things. Still in the formation, so we have 3 Pak 40s to deal with any armor, 6 8cm mortars, because I wanted to see what they could do after they did so well for Tom, being his man of the match. We have the AA trucks, and we have 4 heavy machine guns. They're not really going to be part of the formation in this game because the MG Nest card turns them into independent units, but that's 4 teams that you can spread around again like the infantry, and being machine gun nests, they're quite stubborn if you're trying to shoot them away. And these are the supports, so 4 SS Panzer IVs and 3 SS Panthers. Again, Panthers getting another run out. They will work one day, but we will see. And that is it for the support, and these tanks will most likely be put in reserve. Okay, apologies for the bit of the glare, but I'll read out at the top of the card. So it's 9th SS, the best infantry, and machine gun nests, and should be get lucky. So again, the best infantry changes the stats for the infantry teams. So they are not aggressive anymore, they're careful, and they are all veteran 3+. Machine gun nest, 2 points, brilliant card. So the MG Nest become independent, as mentioned, and you have to re-roll successful firepower tests to kill them, which is nice. And the lucky card is in there because we had an extra point, and I thought it would be good to have the opportunity to re-roll a dice. And now we'll have a little talk about a new feature, and it's called What Does Jen Say? Jen is my wife, and I not so much force her, but at the start of every game I make her look at the 2 armies and ask her to see who's going to win. And she just picks randomly. She doesn't really know the game, though she has played it. But for the last dozen games, she has only got 1 wrong. So she's either brilliant at guessing, or she is a secret tactical genius. So for today's game, she has picked the Americans as the potential winners because they have planes. But bear that in mind, and we'll see if she's right at the end of the game. Maybe I should give her a reward or something, but I definitely need to make a thumbnail for this feature, and I have a perfect photo, but I do need permission, otherwise I might get murdered. So here is today's battlefield. It is a little market town with a church, and it is nestled in the bend of a river. There's a little farm on one side of the river with all the fields ready to harvest, and there's a little hill as you go towards the edge of the town. There are 2 bridges leading in on the road, and there is 1 ford. So this is a river, so it will be a cross check required. There is another hill in the far end of the board, and the hedges today will be used as bocage, so tall terrain blocking line of sight, and there's also more tall terrain in the form of the 3 forests, sorry, and there's also tree lines as well, which are tall terrain as well. So with the buildings included, lines of sight are limited, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more urban combat again because of the town. So Dave gets to pick his deployment area first, so he has picked the bottom right corner to defend. When measured out, it leads all the way up to the first bridge, and most of the town, basically cutting that town square in half. So quite a good deployment, with him also being able to put mortars on the hill, of which we will see.
So we're deployed, everyone. So this is the corner where the Germans, Dave, decided to deploy in the end, and this is where the objectives went down. So just in their little corridor that they get. Mike has plastered this plaza with ranged in markers, so not much is going to be able to move around here. Dave has put his machine gun nests 2 in this courtyard here, so a little kill zone here, any infantry come through, and then there's 2 on the ends of the houses, so we have 1 here and then we have 1 in the cafe. The 3 platoons are dotted around in the woods and 2 around this area with the HQ. The mortars are up here, 1 on the hill so it can see over the hedges. We're playing it again that it's going to be actual line of sight. If you can see it past the hedge, you can see it as though this is because you know it's tall, but we feel like the hills are a bit pointless then, and it's my house rule, so if you want to try it out yourself, just check with your opponent. And then we have the AA guns back here, so get a good cover on everything. And in ambush are the Pak 40s, and in reserve we have the Panzer IVs and the Panthers. Now the Americans have their OP set up here, so you can see a little bit more other than hedges. We have 1st Platoon and the HQ all mounted up apart from the mortar there. We have the armoured mortars right behind the church with the Stuarts getting ready to go down this road. Over in the corner of the deployment we have the 6 priests. We're looking at it, they can see quite a bit like going through the houses, but they are limited. 2nd Platoon again is mounted up. They help with their deployment courtesy of the Raki. So 1 Raki did a tactical here and the other dash down here. Not 100% sure the Raki can split up, but I think they can. Just let me know if they can't, and I can pencil that in ready for the next game. The 76mm Shermans are here ready to move on. The heavy machine guns are mounted up in their half tracks, and unfortunately the anti-tank guns are the ones without the half tracks, so they're going to have to slog their way onto the hill before they can contribute anything to this game at the moment. So this is everything deployed. American will have 1st turn, and then best of luck to both players, and interested to see how this one pans out. Okay, American movement. 1st Platoon's half-tracked have moved up to the hedge. The unit leader did a follow me, but then got bogged in the hedge, and then everyone else did the same. They did pass the follow me. Formation command just pushed up to the edge by here. The Stuarts did a dash over to the walls by here, so they can cover some of the courtyard. 2nd Platoon have pushed up the road, no follow me from them. The 76s have dashed up to get cover from the hill. Unit leader pushed into the field to do a follow me, but they all failed. The guns did a mighty 2-inch move forward out of the fields, and the HMG half tracks have moved forward as well. The recon have stayed put, and that is it for movement. So now we're going to go into all of the artillery that the Americans have. Right then, lads, we Mike decided not to fire any of his artillery. His planes did come in, however, and they targeted the MG nest in the building. The AA went off and actually got 4 hits on the planes, and Mike failed his save, but unfortunately the firepower was not passed, so we might have seen the first aircraft being shot down on the channel. The artillery did range in, second attempt, and he got a hit on the MG nest, as you can see the pin marker, but Dave passed his save. And that is it. So now we're going into German turn 1. German motivation, the MG nest has rallied and Dave has popped his ambush, so he's popped them by here. So one in the forest, one on the edge of the river, so it can aim down this little gap by here. And then there's another one that's popped by here, so it can see into the courtyard. And also reserves came in. Mike did use his French resistance ray, but Dave rolled another 5, so the Panzer IVs have come in to shut the door in the face of the armoured rifles moving up this flank. So let's see how the shooting goes. Okay, so shooting phase. The Panzer IVs managed to knock out one of the half tracks, but luckily the infantry managed to get out before getting toasted. The mortars ranged in by here, clipping one of the teams and the mortar, and that is it for the mortars. They got 1 hit but no kills, and the Pak 40 over here, the only one that could fire, opened up, hit the half track but failed the firepower, so they just bailed out. So now we're going into American turn 2. Motivation for the Americans, the half trackers managed to get back in, and first platoon have rallied and continue on their movement, and the aircraft have come back in again, this time going for the Panzer IVs. So let's go into American movement and see where the Americans end up. American movement, the 76ers have made it onto the hill with the MGs right behind. The 57 anti-tank guns are continuing their movement, and the recon have moved up behind. Second platoon have dismounted and are trying to use this bank from cover from the various MG nests that are about. This one here might be able to sneak a few of the rear ones. The Stuarts have moved behind the wall, and then some are in the gaps in this building here. And first platoon in the HQ have dismounted with a line of bazookas all ready for the Panzer IVs. And that is American movement, so let's see in the shooting phase what will happen. The planes couldn't go for the Panzer IVs because the infantry pushed up too close, so unlike the Americans, they didn't risk it. They've gone elsewhere, so they ranged in here. No kills, but did pin down the unit. The AA fire only got 1 hit this time and was shrugged off easily enough. Actually no, they didn't get any hits, sorry. The Shermans hosed down the tree line, and Pak 40s managed to pin them, but no kills. Second platoon's mortar also ranged in and got hits on second platoon and the Pak 40, but again no kills. The Stuarts split their fire onto the machine gun nest here. Got a few hits. Got a few 6s on the firepowers, but they have to re-roll them, so failed. And then the priests man the range in. They could just see through the gap to where they are, so they ranged in on the roof. The bazookas only managed to get 1 hit on the Panzer IV, and the Panzer IV shrugged off the shell. And there is turn 2 for the Americans. So now we're going to turn 2 for the Germans. Okay, so German motivation, everything rallied apart from the important stuff, the Pak 40s. So Dave used his lucky card, but again they did not rally, and the Panthers are yet to turn up. So we've got a bit to do, and then we have German movement. So these doughboys are in a bit of trouble really in the open, especially with all these Panzer IV MGs aiming at them, but we'll see what happens. So let's see what the Germans can do in their shooting phase. Okay, so in the movement, third platoon are moving over to occupy these houses, and first platoon are slowly making their way to where third platoon were, and then eventually make their way over to the houses if needed, or stay on the objective. So now we're going into German shooting, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do. Okay, so in the shooting, the Pak 40s weren't able to dent the Shermans, but one of them was able to completely destroy a Stuart. The MG nest up in this building killed 2 LMG teams and a rifle team and pinned them. The Panzer IVs managed to pin 1st platoon and 3 teams are dead. And we've got quite a few kills as well. 1 bazooka team got killed. And that is it for the shooting, so now we're going into American turn 3. Okay, so in the motivation, all the Americans have rallied, but no aircraft this time. So now we're going into American movement. Okay, so in movement, the Shermans are pushed up because they fancy their chances of charging into the Pak-40s. MGs have dismounted on the hill. This one is on the hill, he just won't stay on there, so wobbly model syndrome. Half-tracks are staying with them, Wreck is behind and the AT guns are still moving up. 2nd platoon is ready to assault the MG nest. The Stuarts are pushing towards the objective. And 1st platoon is in a position to assault the hill, and there's lots of bazookas milling around to get some side shots and front shots on the Panzer IVs to help it out. So I believe there's smoke coming first, so we'll see what happens in the assault phase, or shooting phase. Okay, in the shooting phase, the Americans managed to bag themselves 2 Panzer IVs with the bazookas already, and they managed to pin down a machine gun nest. The machine gun nest in the bakery is unpinned, and that is it. And you can see there's plenty of smoke, so there's smoke going across here, and there's also smoke going across from the bakery as well. So it was the mortars who did this smoke, and it was the priests who did the smoke from here with the Sherman OP spotting for them. So there's going to be 2 assaults, one on the hill and one into the bakery. Actually, it's 3 assaults and then another one into the Pak-40. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so the assault on the hill was a failure. Dave got, even with the 2 remaining Panzer IVs, he got plenty to stop the assault, actually bang on 5, and that killed 2 teams. The Pak-40 one was actually very successful, killed the Pak-40, only losing 1 Sherman to defensive fire, but luckily Dave rolled a 6 for his cross check to move the other Pak-40 out of the way to fall back. And then the bakery thing happened, and Dave got another 5 hits with his defensive fire, and that took out another 2 teams. So 2 failures with the infantry, but the one were expected not to work with the Shermans did. So that's very interesting. So now we're going into German turn 3. Okay, so German motivation, everything rallied apart from the MG nest, and the Panthers have turned up, and they have turned up here, driven up all the way to the Bocage to try and fire at the Shermans here. So the Pak-40s are going to have to make a decision whether they're going to do, one of them's going to do some turning, but Dave will have to come up with that decision, and not me today, luckily. Okay, movement phase. Panzer IVs are staying where they are on the hill. 1st platoon has moved up to the Bocage to give their friends a hand, because these bazookas are not in a nice position by here. 3rd platoon have moved into the end parts of these terrace buildings, so they've in turn shut the door on that gap there for the Stuarts, and 1 team for the 2nd platoon have moved to the edge of the forest to get Panzerfaust range on this Sherman here, and that is it for movement. So now we're going into the shooting phase again. Okay, so down in this corner is a bit of a murder. 2 Shermans have been knocked out and 1 bailed, that's from the Panthers, and another one got bailed by the Pak-40s. This Pak-40 up here managed to destroy 2, and the Panzerfaust missed, so otherwise they'd be in a bit of danger. Unfortunately, the MG nest couldn't kill any of the infantry here, and a few more infantry teams got dropped by artillery and Panzer IVs, and the bazooka team here got taken out by the Grenadiers. We are in position for doing an assault with the Grenadiers onto this bazooka team and whatever friends he's got to help him out, and that is it. So we're going into assaults for the Germans. Still a bit too risky here for the Grenadiers. That is 10 defensive fire shots there on the Stuarts, so a bit risky to say the least. So just going to do this one for the bazooka team, a bit easier for the Germans. That assault went pretty well, took out a bazooka team, and then the other ones fell back. They could not counter. So now that is it for German turn 3, so now we go into American turn 4, and they still need to get onto these objectives. Can't go through this gap now, that is closed, and these Shermans need to stay. American motivation, everything went very well. Both Shermans are back in, remounting on a 3+ with their protected ammo, and all the platoons have rallied on a 3+ because the regular rifle teams have a very good rally on a 3+. And the aircraft have turned up again. They swooped around, couldn't come in last time, and they're going to go for the Panzer IVs when the infantry move away to give them some leeway to fire. And that's it, so now movement for the Americans. Okay, so American 1st Platoon have moved further down the hedges, keeping out of danger close for the planes. The Stuarts are reversed to use their MGs. Shermans have crossed the bridge so they can assault the Pak-40s again. The Recce have moved to here, keeping in cover of the dead Shermans are here now. And 2nd Platoon is going to go for a second shot at the bakery. They want those bagels that are in there. So that is American movement. So now we're going into American shooting. Okay, so American shooting hitting hard this time. The mortars got pinned by the priests who already ranged in there from the smoke. They would have got pinned again by the planes, which took out one of the Panzer IVs. That bailed out marker is actually pinned for their mortars. He's fine. The infantry and Pak-40s are well and truly pinned from MGs on the hill and for the Shermans, and one team who moved across First Panzerfaust is dead. This time, the heavy machine guns are pinned thanks to the combined effort of the rifle team and the Stuarts. So this assault should be a lot easier this time, so we'll see what happens. So there will be an assault this time. We got the Pak-40s again, and we have the bakery again. German motivation, Pak-40s have not rallied, but everything else has. Apart from the mortars, they're still pinned, and the Panzer IV passed his last stand, so it's still plenty to do for the Germans. They can probably mop up this platoon and the infantry that are still there, and we'll get into their movement and see what they get up to. Okay, so German movement, the Panzer IV has moved off the hill right up to the barrage so it can hose down quite a few of them without bulletproof cover. 1st Platoon is in Operation Mop-Up to get rid of the rest of the platoon in the HQ. 3rd Platoon in this building is stay put because they can ambush one of the Stuarts. 2nd Platoon has moved into the terrace to stop 2nd Platoon of Mike's Americans going into the courtyard, and the Panthers are also being back up, going up to the courtyard to protect the objective, and also being able to swing around to this one in case these guys do anything. So plenty of shooting for the Germans. Be interesting what happens. Okay, so the units here, the 2nd Platoon fired the guns into the bakery. They've killed one bazooka team, but most importantly pinned the platoon. This Pak-40 here did fire up through the gap at the Stuart but missed. And over here, 1st Platoon has taken a battering, and the executive officer of the HQ team is down and pinned, but 1st Platoon is not pinned and they still have an LMG, so this assault could falter, but we'll see what happens. So, 2 assaults we're going into. The ambush. So basically this ambush because they're within 4 inches and they haven't fired or moved, so they can sneak up on a Stuart so they can go into the side, and then this Stuart can't fire because he can't fire through his friend. So we'll see which one Dave wants to do first, because there's some nice juicy ones here. The Panzer IV can get involved as well if he wants to, and there's a tree falling over, so we will see what happens in the recap. So the Stuarts are gone, but they went down with a fight, so they did get the counter-attack once, and they took out one of the Grenadier teams with them. Over here, the assault was stopped thanks to the LMG, and 2 teams are lost in the process, and then the Panzer IV had to try and get stuck in, but was taken out by a bazooka. And that is it, so now we're going to American turn 5. American motivation, brilliant again. Bakery happy, eating all their bagels, loving it. HQ happy, need to get his platoon with him, pushing forward. He needs to assault with the 2 bazookas. But the planes are not coming in. Everything's getting a bit close for them as well anyway. So we'll see what the Americans can achieve. They've got a lot of Germans to push aside to get to these objectives, and they've taken heavy casualties in the process already. Okay, so American movement, the 57mm guns are within 2 turns of actually firing at something. The heavy machine guns have done a tactical across the river, and we got one on the top of the building and the other ones again ready to go in. Second platoon are waiting in the bakery. They're going to assault out after they fired, and the remnants of first platoon and the HQ are going to assault first platoon. LMG has stayed back to have his full rate of fire to hose down the German grenadiers. And also the Recce fancying their chances against the Pak-40s and the machine gun nest. So we'll see how that one ends up, shall we? We were all surprised how the Pak-40s ended up down here last time, so we will see. Okay, so the shooting over here has left first platoon with just 1 base, and third platoon has lost another base in the house, so they're down to 3. So the only full strength, well, at the beginning of this game, is second platoon with 5 teams. A lot of MG fire went into the Pak-40s, but they have survived again. So it is down to the assaults, and again I believe we have 3. The Recce onto the Pak-40s with a machine gun nest, although he might not be able to fire. Oh no, he will be able to. Going across the street into second platoon, and then the bazooka guys and the HQ going into the remnants of first. So we'll see what happens. Well, I don't know why we were all laughing on the Recce going into assault. They took out the 2 Pak-40s and the machine gun nest, and the only thing that's got pie on their face is the fact that they couldn't consolidate into the woods there. As Mike said, they've just got their stuck in all the dead bits of Germans. Over here though, the bakery boys are down to 1 bazooka team after a dreadful assault. But then the guys over here managed to polish off the last of first platoon and are currently on to the objective. So the Panthers need to go and do something now. Luckily there's an MG nest. So we're going now into German turn 5. Okay, so we did the motivation and the mortars rallied. The Panthers have moved to protect the objective, and the HQ did a tactical with a 2-inch follow me to get in assault range to finish them off. And the AA guns have gone along the road to try and snipe the bazooka team. The machine gun nest should be sufficient to get rid of the jeeps, but there are plenty of teams in the buildings that can fire as well. And that is it. So now we're going to go into shooting and see if the SS can push away the Americans for good and all from these 2 objectives. So it took a bit more than the MG nest. It took the MG nests and what was remaining of second and third platoon to get rid of the jeeps. Their saves were hot until the end. Over here the HQ and first platoon are pinned thanks to the mortars, Panthers, HQ SMGs and the AA guns, but no kills. Bulletproof cover helping them quite a bit. So the assault will come in from the HQ team to try and get rid of them. Not much defensive fire in that, only the bazookas and the 1 shot from the HQ, but who knows how it will end up. Okay, so the German HQ is gone. And the original team for the American HQ is gone, but he is transferred into a bazooka team. But all that's left of that platoon is a bazooka and the LMG, and that is it. So they're last standing, but they do have their reroll because the HQ is still alive with them. And we have a last stand over here. So we're going into American turn 6, and one of their teams is within range of the objective. So they need to pass their last stand to continue the game. Okay, so motivation, finally the Americans failed a rally, and that was first platoon, and that was enough for them to actually run away in the end. They got so shocked. Although first platoon is still in the fight, rallied and passed their motivation, and worse, the aircraft are in, and as Mike said, out of spite he's going for the AA gun, so they will have a choice whether to fire them at the planes or keep them for the infantry here. So plenty to do, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so the bazooka has moved in to flank the Panthers, and the LMG is just going to fire what it can. The heavy machine guns have moved into the building, one was already there, and one more turn and they can fire, so let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so second platoon is pinned because of their priests, and so is the MG nest. This MG nest is pinned because of the heavy machine guns and the LMG. One of the Panthers has been popped by the bazooka, and one of the AA guns has been destroyed by the Thunderbolt. So we have the assault going in, and unfortunately it would have been better if he just stayed bailed, because there'll just be the one defensive fire shot coming in at him. So let's see how this ends up. Okay, so that happened. So basically the bazooka made it into combat, did not get killed. He then bailed a Panther. The other Panther counterattacked and killed the bazooka. The LMG was within 4 inches, so counterattacked, but obviously couldn't move because he's a heavy weapon team. The Panther then counterattacked, moved in, rolled a 2 to kill him, and then the LMG rolled to counterattack, rolled a 5 to hit, and then Dave rolled a 1, resulted in a bail. So then, yeah, that happened, and he started within 4. Because they were up here in the turn, so they moved on with their last consolidate and ended it within 4. So yeah, somehow the Americans managed to pull it off, and now the Germans are going to have to evacuate this town and pull away. Obviously very strange tactics on display today, but I can tell you this, Mike and Dave both thoroughly enjoyed that game, even with us watching the rugby at the same time. So yeah, so quite a Pyrrhic victory for the Americans with the amount they've lost, but they have taken their objective somehow with an LMG team, and that is it. So we'll chat with the boys now. So Mike is the victor. Do you have a man of the match?
It's got to be those Jeeps. No, sorry, no. It would have been the Jeeps until the last turn. So in the last turn it was the bazooka team.
Okay, so first platoon. And first platoon...
That office beyond me.
First platoon did pretty well. And Dave, do you have a man of the match?
I would say probably the machine gun nests. They took out quite a lot of the infantry.
Okay, sorry everyone. Dave, again, what was your man of the match? I had a funny feeling that it wasn't turn 6 then all of a sudden, but the panic's over.
I chose the machine gun nests, just because they managed to take out a good couple of infantry units. Otherwise, like I said, the Panthers didn't really do much during the...
Yeah. It was a strange one because the Americans had, and I think Mike will admit this, pure fluke quite a lot of the time. And he's nodding furiously on my screen. But yeah, as I said, both of these guys really found this fun, a real crazy game.
Can I just interject as well here though, right? That's another correct prediction for Jen.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So yes, if we remember from what does Jen say, Jen predicted the Americans were going to win, and they did. So that is another rollover on what Jen says. So again, thanks Dave for pointing that one out. And we did tell Dave and Mike the prediction, so Dave had that uphill battle from turn 1. Right, so we'll take some photos of the man in the match, and we will say goodbye to Mike and Dave. And again, everyone, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and again, let me know if I've done anything wrong. This game's a bit of a strange one because we were watching rugby at the same time, so it was conflict of interests a lot of the time, but we got it done in the end.